I was 2 years old when this incident occurred. Being brought up about an hour away from Inverness, it was certainly an iconic case and a case that was talked about. My parents spoke about it, they still speak about it obviously now.
Inverness is more than 500 miles from London, a different world with a very different way of life, a small town with its own expectations and values.
Inverness in 1976 wasn't the place it is today, it was far smaller, more remote than it would be seen to be now. And certainly for something as impactful as the disappearance of a mother and her young child, people do remember.
Renee MacRae and her 3-year-old son Andrew drove away from this bungalow and sparked off what could go down in police annals as the most baffling unsolved missing persons case this century.
The press coverage at the time was intense. Documentaries and programmes that were made at the time were of huge value to the reinvestigation. Dalmagary lay-by, which is around 18 miles south of Inverness on the A9. This is a lay-by where Renee MacRae's BMW car was found on fire on Friday the 12th of November 1976. So the night in question was a typical November night in the Highlands. It was pretty dreich, road conditions were wet. The lay-by itself, it appears as it did in 1976. The embankment now has trees on it, and it was just a bare embankment at the time.
Somewhere before 10 o'clock on that Friday night, Mrs. MacRae's BMW was left here in this lay-by. By whom, no one knows. Where whoever was driving the car went to, no one knows.
It's the strangest case I've ever encountered, and that's from one end of Scotland to the other. I've never known one with so much mystery and so few answers to so many questions.
There was extensive inquiries done in 1976.
The search for Mrs. MacRae and her young son rapidly developed into the biggest hunt of its kind ever seen in the north of Scotland.
Ultimately, the inquiries did not find Renee and Andrew. All throughout the reinvestigation, it was very much cataloguing and reviewing the material held to ensure that we'd eked out every possible detail. And from that, really, the re-interview of witnesses was a massive task.
In a town like Inverness, with a population of 40,000, rumour and gossip are rife.
So as the details slowly came out and Bill McDowell was linked to it, there became a view that he may have had something to do with this.
William McDowell was company secretary to her husband's firm.
There is new evidence from this reinvestigation, but ultimately the case against Bill McDowell rests on the witness evidence and us being able to disprove the accounts that he's provided. Anybody involved in this inquiry now wants to get it to a conclusion. When there's a child involved, that heightens the determination even more. Two objectives are set out: find Renee and Andrew and bring the person to justice.